From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? Welcome on into Wake Up War Chant, proudly presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Use the promo code FSU Spring 2020. Sign up for a year, put that promo code in, FSU Spring 2020. You'll get 18 months of access for the price of 12, and you'll get a $50 e-card to garnetandgold.com. You can use it in person or online. Corey Clark joining us via satellite. He was grinding away Thursday at football practice, which we'll talk about plenty. But the news of the day is all the bad stuff that kind of happened. But, Corey, how are you, despite the bad stuff, if you will?
I'm a little bummed, Aslan. I'm a lot bummed, actually.
Yeah.
It's just, not to be selfish, but I'm a huge sports fan. I like my job. I like covering sports. I like writing about sports. I like watching sports. And that's all done for the foreseeable future. And obviously there's much more important things than my entertainment or your entertainment or even my job. But it's just a bummer, man. It's hard to even comprehend what the next 6 to 8 weeks is going to be like without, maybe the NBA comes back in 5-6 weeks and just plays in empty gyms. Maybe Major League Baseball starts up in sometime in late April. But yeah, man, it's going to be really, I guess I'm going to be watching a lot of Netflix. So if anybody's got any series that they recommend, shoot them my way, because I'm going to be needing something to occupy my time really for the next 2 or 3 months.
We'll have
it's
the
a
Masters.
Bummer, man. It's a real bummer.
We'll have the Masters, right? The Masters won't cave.
Well, the Players did.
That's
the Players Championship did. So I assume the Masters is, the Masters is 3 weeks away, right?
Yeah, something like that.
4 weeks away. Yeah. So the Masters is such a weird deal run by such weird people that they might just say, man, we don't care. Yeah, we're playing it. Screw you. You can have all the pimento cheese sandwiches you want. That's fine.
Delicious.
Maybe they'll be different.
Yeah, delicious. So again, folks, unless you've been living under a rock, Thursday, ACC tournament, and then every other tournament, conference tournament was canceled. NCAA followed suit and canceled the national tournaments. They canceled the national tournaments of every spring sport, so there's no Omaha this year. There's no College World Series. There's no lacrosse championship, no gymnastics championship, no Frozen Four. Pretty much everything vanquished off the college map. I asked you this. We did one take, and then I had some technical difficulties. It seems like everybody, the consensus has been what an extremely disappointing decision this has been, but ultimately it is the right decision. Which makes it so kind of tough to kind of come to grips with, I guess, is kind of balancing it. Everybody's kind of been on that side of it, whether it's, Jay Billis or, Fran Fraschilla. Pretty much anybody I've seen, Sean Farnham, anybody that's been on ESPN has been like, this was the right decision to make. It's really difficult. No one's really zagged, though, it seems like. No one's been like, what the heck is going on? Why are they doing all this? Because I don't know, would there be a backlash if you did that?
Well, you mean like if a media member did that? Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't care about that. I think my zag to that is twofold. I just do not understand why you would cancel yet the College World Series and the Softball World Series and the NCAA Regionals and like that season runs until late May. Like, I know it might be pie in the sky and I might be naive, but maybe we're through the other side of this thing in 3 weeks. And then you have a week, I guess, to get your arms back ready and to get ready. And then you could play the next month of the season. Now, it's obviously going to be a truncated season, but you could try it with baseball and softball and golf and these things. If we come out the other side, if we somehow, and it seems really hard right now because nobody can get tested apparently, but if we somehow come out on the other side and we realize, okay, cases are going down, we've got it somewhat under control, everybody that needs to get tested can get tested, and that happens to be, April 12th that we get that? So in a month, we got this under control. You're telling me you couldn't play the last 6 weeks of the baseball season, college baseball season, or the last 7 weeks of the softball season, and then try to go to Omaha? Like it'd be different. You wouldn't play all the games that were on your schedule. The 40-win streak would be over. But I feel like there was you could at least try. I'm not saying you would do that, but you could say, hey, we're going to reevaluate in 3 weeks. Right now, everything is suspended. We're going to reevaluate in 3 weeks. I don't understand the rush to just cancel it completely.
Well, the NBA Board of Governors has kind of put that on the table, right? That was kind of going down on Thursday evening. I think they went to Commissioner Adam Silver and said, let's reassess this in 30 days. Let's actually put like a timeline on this, because they just kind of indefinitely suspended things. And I don't know, again, pie in the sky and the logistics behind it, it would be incredibly difficult to pull off. And, I think CY, Charlton Young, speaks for so many people, not only in Tallahassee, not only Florida State fans, but college basketball fans. He did a hashtag, and it's kind of funny, but I can only imagine listening to him like with his tie uncinched, sitting at a bar, with like a beer in his hand or something, just talking about, man, we put a man on the moon. Like he tweeted like, man, we put a man on the moon. Like, can we not get this thing up and running hopefully by May? I would have wished, and I think LaFonso Ellis is the one guy that said it. He was like, I really wish they just would have suspended it instead of just coming out and canceling it and putting a kibosh on it. Because, I do wish they would give themselves some kind of wiggle about, maybe there's some way we can figure this out in the next 14 days. At least figure out a framework. And not saying that things are going to be clear and the coast is going to be clear, but give yourself some time to figure out a potential solution. But, every single thing. I saw like a Grand Prix, F1. Every sporting event around the world just seems to be putting a kibosh on everything, which is, it's disheartening. But again, it's a major reason. There's a major thing going on. There's a reason why.
Yeah, and CY, you're right. CY's tweet was, we flew a guy from here to the moon, and we can't figure out a way to have a tournament in May, or at least see if there's a possibility of a tournament in May. And by the way, I guess we still do that, right? Like we still say, there's still that saying, we can put a man on the moon, but we can't ...
Right, yeah.
Like that was 50 years ago. I feel like we need to come up with another. I was thinking about it because I texted Tim and Ira about it. And Tim's like, hey, I think it still works, honestly. I'm like, yeah, I do too. But like maybe you could come up with something like, we can put 10,000 songs in our pocket in a little phone.
There you go.
But we can't. There's been so many huge leaps in technology in the last 50 years, and we're still going back to July of 1969. It's crazy. It's like I say all the time about the only blind person anybody ever mentions is Stevie Wonder. And he hadn't had a number one hit in 35 years.
Whoa. Come on, man.
No, he's a great artist, one of the all-time greats. I'm just saying he hasn't, what you'd say, been on the charts since like
we'll have the Rolling Stones. You hit a certain point in your career when you're done making stuff.
You're Stevie Wonder. I got you. But still, you would think somebody, when Stevie passes away, who takes that mantle? I know that's it's probably not why people tune into Wake Up War Chant, to think of Stevie Wonder dying, but
we do need a vice president of the Blind Association,
there's got to be somebody else out there.
Yeah. I hear you.
But yeah, so I get it with Charlton Young, man. By the way, CY is one of the assistants for Florida State, and it's just so heartbreaking for those guys because this was an all-time team, and they really did think they had a shot to do some incredible things, some historic. They already did, but even more historic things, and they feel like it was kind of ripped away. Not through any. They don't blame the NCAA. They certainly don't publicly. At least Leonard didn't. But yeah, I don't understand why you couldn't, if you're the NCAA, say, look. We love March Madness. It is our bell cow. It is our event. It is the most special sporting event in the country. We love it. We want to do everything to protect it. We want to try our best to make sure we have it, even if it means going into May. So we will reassess after we have all the information or much more information. Because right now the problem with this is we don't know. I think there's been 1,300, 1,400 confirmed cases in this country. And then you see the Ohio Surgeon General says that they think there's 100,000 people in Ohio walking around with it. We just have no idea how many people have it. None. Zero idea. Because we don't have the testing. We just aren't testing people. I think the CDC, they said, I saw a story that the CDC has tested 77 people since Sunday. 77.
It's not a
South
lot.
Korea's testing 10,000 a day.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen, though, it was a very slow preparation for this, but I think they're in frantic overdrive now. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, you have to imagine. I love this country, man. I know some. I'm not even finish that thought. But I love this country, and I do think this country in the next 2 or 3 weeks will figure out a way to get the people that need to be tested. They are going to go in hyperdrive, in overdrive. I don't care who's in charge. The people that get stuff done on the ground will get stuff done on the ground, and I think people will start being tested. And I think by 3 or 4 weeks, we will have a much, much firmer idea of how many people in this country have it. And there is a chance. You hear these things that, like, people expect 40% of the population to get it. Well, you're talking about 140 million people. If it's that, of course, basketball season's over. Yeah. Baseball season's over. But if it is contained, and in what we've done, all these measures that we've taken over the last 24 to 48 hours really do pay off. Probably, I don't know that'll. I mean, people's restaurants are still open, theaters are still open, but if they do pay off, all these public gathering spaces and festivals being canceled, well, and it slows down, and we get a grip on it. Well, then you could theoretically play the tournament start in the middle of April, late April, and play it in May. The kids are in school anyway. So, and the same thing with the baseball. That's probably pie in the sky. It's probably naive. And the thing is, it probably wouldn't happen either way. I think by 3 or 4 weeks, we're probably going to realize, oh boy, this is something. And sports will be the last things on our mind, and we'll understand that it would have to be canceled. It just seemed, you just see how stuff works, man. You see how institutions work, and I'm not getting on a soapbox here. You see how people in positions of power work, where look how much everything changed with one positive test in the NBA.
Right.
That was a wrap on sports. One test. And then the image of that guy going around and touching microphones and touching phones. That was a wrap. And that's why I tweeted it that night, and I got some pushback from people that
it's incredible.
Just don't understand how life works. Young people that just don't understand how life works, I guess.
None of them are young people. Just crazy.
Some of them were, yeah. But once Rudy Gobert happened and the NBA canceled or suspended its season, of course college basketball is going to be done. The kids that are played for free, they play for free. Again, quote, play for free. You're going to have them out there perhaps risking something, having no idea if the person they're playing against and bodying up against and battling for a rebound against is positive. You're going to have that go on. But the NBA, where those dudes get paid millions and billions, and the owners make billions, they're going to suspend their season. But these kids are just going to keep playing. We're going to fly them around the country. No, man, there was no chance. There was zero chance. And I tell you what, my man John Swofford just expedited things very, very quickly with his debacle of a press conference on Thursday morning.
I didn't watch any of it. Was it not?
Well, the problem was, so it was supposed to start at 10. They had announced, they're like, hey, the games are going on. This is what I'm talking about. This is why it happens so fast. Once the NBA happened, that's a huge. That's not even a domino. That's like a brick wall falling on a bunch of dominoes. Once that happened, you knew everything else was going to happen. So John Swofford says he's on a conference call with all the other commissioners to talk about playing the conference tournaments. This is at 10 o'clock, 10:30. He comes to his press conference and says, hey, sorry I'm late. We were on the conference. I was on this conference call with a bunch of Power 5, all the other commissioners. And, we decided we're going to go ahead with the conference tournaments and yada, yada, yada. And literally 45 minutes later, the Big Ten cancels their tournament. Then the Pac-12, then the Big 12, then the SEC. Then the ACC is like, well, I know what we said an hour and a half ago, but we're canceling ours too because we can't be the only ones that are playing it. Yeah. And that's how life works, man. That's just how it works. It was inevitable. So what Swofford did though was, and it's a very valid question. And his first response was when he was asked, like, why are you guys going on? When the NBA is canceling, did you think you were going to cancel? And he goes, yeah. He goes, the difference is the NBA has a confirmed case. That player played against numerous people, had been in different locker rooms. A lot of people had been exposed to him. And right now, we don't have a confirmed case. So until we do, we feel it's prudent to let the players play. Which you might think to yourself, well, yeah, that makes sense. Then he's asked a follow-up. Well, Commissioner, if you do find out you have a confirmed case, won't that be too late? And he's like, well, yeah, that's a fair question. If we do find it, because say somebody for Notre Dame tests positive or Syracuse.
Yeah.
Well, then the tournament's done.
Right.
And you don't know who they got exposed to and who else is going to get it. So when you can't answer that question, and John Swofford couldn't, he just fiddle-farted through it because there's no good answer to it. When you're like, hey, well, if you do have a confirmed case, it's too late then to cancel the tournament. The damage has been done, right? The person's been on a plane. They've been in a hotel. They've been bodying up and sweating on other people. And he's like, well, yeah, I can see why you'd say that. And that literally like 8 minutes after his press conference was over, that's when all the other commissioners were like, well, I don't want to answer those questions. We're done. We're canceling it. That was a debacle. And so that's how it happens. And then the NCAA saw how that all went down and was like, and you just knew it. As soon as the conferences started canceling their tournaments, you knew it was a matter of 60 minutes, 2 hours, that the big tournament was going to be done too.
Yeah. I think I saw something where a referee, like in the Patriot League or something, tested positive. So it's just, no matter what you want to limit it to, like, all right, no fans, essential personnel only. Well, who's to say a referee doesn't have it? Who's to say that towel boy doesn't have it? And then who's to say a family member doesn't have it and brings it there, and then everything happens. It's there's no sort of acceptable answer to the hardcore sports fan, which is unfortunate. We still have some of that blood coursing through our veins, but I think by and large, again, I was texting with Dal, and it was just like, man, he was talking about just how crazy it was up there. And I was like, yeah, man, I think it's the right thing. I just hope they can pull it off later down the road somehow. And he's like, for sure is the right thing. And I do hope they can figure something out, but probably not going to happen.
No, it's canceled now. I mean, I guess you could technically say, no, it's back on. We've changed our thought. We're going to see how it plays out in the next month. But I mean, I think that's just very, very wishful thinking. And I'm in that boat, man. I'm in the CY boat. I know I understand, and I completely agree with shutting it down now. Yeah. There's just way too many question marks about how prevalent it is and where it is. Schools are being shut down. Every big university in the country is being shut down. So then you can't play basketball games online.
Right.
I mean, you can play video games and stuff, but you know what I mean? You can't play these games online. You have to play in person. Yeah. You can go to class online. And so that's the problem. I mean, the unknown is the problem. And the unknown is not going to be known for a good long while. So because say you did play the tournament and say, Balsa test positive when Florida State gets to the Sweet 16.
Why's it got to be a foreigner, huh? Why you got to pick a white guy?
Good point. Raekwon Evans test positive. My bad, Balsa. That's my fault. He tests positive. Well, then what happens?
Yeah.
Is Florida State done?
Right.
Or how about this? How about a kid from Belmont after the tournament tests positive? If a team that Florida State beat in the first round.
Well, what if Florida State
done?
Well, what if Florida State beat a team that had a kid that tested positive?
That's what I was just saying. Yeah, if the Belmont kid, after they lost to Florida State, then 4 days later tests positive,
right.
And Florida State's in, I assume LA, because they would have been sent west, I'm sure, in the Sweet 16. What do you do then?
Actually, they were going to probably be in the South. They would have been in Houston. Everything would have worked out. It's what a bummer. Yeah. It's a complete bummer to think about.
But it's depressing, man. I'm old enough and wise enough. That's in quotes, to realize that there's so many more important things than sports and my entertainment value or my time watching TV and sports and how much I like it. But at the same time, man, I feel like I'm like a lot of people that listen to this show. Sports and my son and Stephanie are my life.
And
Like that's
podcast.
what that's what I do at night. That's what I do during the day. That's what I do is sports. And I maybe that makes me a Neanderthal, but I love sports. It's my first love. It's my most lasting love. Except, the Brady and Stephanie, of course. I know Stephanie listens to this. So and now it's not here. It's gonna be a really sad 2 or 3 months. I'm sure we'll get adjusted to it. But man, I'm really gonna miss it. And I'm not angry at the decision. It's just a bummer. It's just really frustrating and depressing that we're not going to have March Madness, man. And we're not going to have a college baseball season.
I know, man. That's
just depressing.
Well, how about this? I think the SEC said they were going to leave it to each individual institution to determine what they were going to do for football. And I did see that Auburn has gone ahead and said they're going to indefinitely suspend the beginning of spring football for them, which leads one to believe, well, if they're going to postpone the start of their spring football, which was supposed to start on March 16th, what's going to happen here? Because Florida State also came out later on Thursday and said that they were going to put pause on all their sports programs as well. Florida State's already started. They've got 3 in the books. I do wonder how that kind of would work out with summer term and guys not being here. There's probably way too much that I don't know to even kind of bring that up on this program. But if I don't even want to go too far down the road on that, I should probably bounce and double back. But everything is in the air at this point. I do wonder what the football team is going to do. I think the NBA said that they were going to allow teams to practice despite the suspension in play. I do wonder if that there's some way that the football team is going to be able to get tested and test all the personnel around them to make sure they can go on with things, or are you not even worried about football at this point? Is the bummer of the NCAA tournament just such a big thing that it's like, man, at this point, football is the furthest thing from your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. And, I was at a football practice on Thursday, and a lively one, too, with pads. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. But then I feel like, okay, we're going to talk about it, and we can give our observations, which we would. But it's like, okay, well, when is it going to be relevant again? Like, are they going to practice in June? Or are they just done with spring practice? Or is it the NCAA going to just add, 10 extra practices for the preseason as opposed to trying to restart spring football in, May? So yeah, man, it's just, I'm not all that worried about football right now because it's just the spring. You know what I mean? Trust me, if there was a threat of college football, the season being canceled, I would be, I would just, it'd be a whole Charlie Brown episode of me just with my head down with that piano music in the back. I mean, I would just inconsolable almost. So let's all pray and hope that doesn't happen. That's not on the table.
They'll play in Panama or something. They'll get on planes. Boosters will pay for private planes. They will fly teams to Belize or the Easter Islands. I mean, they'll figure out a way to play football.
Again, the flying, though, the travel, that's a problem.
They'll figure out a private plane. They'll have people on there in hazmat suits. They'll figure out a way.
Sure, yeah. Let them play in hazmat suits. Yeah. So what we all have to hope for as a podcast and as a country, obviously podcast first, then country, that. But as a podcast and people that cover Florida State or love Florida State but just people that are in this country and love their country, is that we get this figured out in the next month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah, I mean,
and not just for sports.
Yeah,
but for us as a society that we get, because it's going to be a really rough month, and I think. I hope that in 2 or 3 weeks, that sports doesn't feel like a complete afterthought. I hope in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm still kind of depressed and upset about it, as opposed to being like, it's the furthest thing from my mind because everything else that's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not expecting that to happen. Surely hope it doesn't happen. I know you don't either.
No, but we just don't know. That's what's so frustrating. We just really don't have any idea. But so it's just Trent Forrest's career is done. who CJ Van Eyck's career's done. Never get to see him pitch again. Might not get to see Elijah Cabell play again. I think he's draft eligible. I
mean, Leonard Hamilton's been doing this for how long? Might, to a man, might say he feels it's the best team he's ever had, and losing a lot of the pieces. Devin Vassell, we would think probably would go to the NBA draft if there was an NBA draft. Yeah, man, it's the fallout is it's profound, man. It is. But let's talk about something sports related, right? And not get too totally bummed out. Do you want to do questions first that were remaining from the Renegade Express, or do you want to talk about practice from Thursday, Corey Clark?
See, so Kendall Rogers just tweeted something. Okay. And if anybody that doesn't know him, he's and this is, when we're doing this, it's late Thursday night. He tweeted something Kendall Rogers is like the probably preeminent, best known college baseball writer.
It's like the Adam Schefter. It's like the Adam Schefter of college baseball.
Of college baseball,
the Woj of college baseball.
There you go. The Corey Clark of college baseball. I guess, yeah. But he just tweeted a meme of Drake saying, "Let's go," like he's all fired up at a Raptors game. Yeah. And it's obviously something to do with college baseball, that maybe he heard something.
A positive development, yeah.
Yeah, and Tyler Holt retweeted it and said, "And here we go." Yeah. So,
awesome. So, by the time you guys listen to this,
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I'm not saying that means anything. Yeah. I just, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, I don't understand how you can make a decision on something in June. Which I guess really it's not in June, right? Like you have to figure out who goes to the College World Series, which means you have to figure out who goes into the NCAA tournament, and you can't just do it after 16 games. I wouldn't think. Maybe you can, but you have to have some regular season. But if you can play in May, if you can play starting May 1st or April, May 4th or April 28th, that should give you enough games, another 15 or 20, to come up with a good enough
solution.
Group of teams.
Yeah, everybody pare your schedule down, play, 3 or 4 conference series, and then
just you play 2 conference series a week instead of 3 games in a series. You play 2, and you just expedite it. You play Georgia Tech on a Friday, Saturday, and then you play Miami on a Sunday, Monday, or a Monday, Tuesday, whatever it has to be to speed it up and to do it and make it work. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying what I don't like, and I'm sure there's people out there listening to me that are probably mad at me thinking I'm part of the reason that the mass hysteria, the flu's much worse, you can die in a car crash, all that. Sure. I've read up enough on this virus because I am who I am, and I obsess over things sometimes, to realize this isn't the flu and it's not a car crash. It's 10 to 15 times more contagious, and it's more lethal. So it is a big deal. And the reason you can say, there's only 1,400 people that have it right now, meanwhile there are 6 million or 20 million that had the flu, we don't know how many people have it right now. We have a test for the flu. If I'm feeling fluey, I can go get tested right away. And they say, yeah, you got the flu. Don't get near anyone.
Yeah. Here's a Z-Pack.
We can't do that.
Yeah, here's a Z-Pack. You'll be all right. They don't have a Z-Pack for her.
But also, right away, don't get near anyone. The problem with this disease is you don't even show symptoms for 4 or 5 days. You don't even feel bad for 4 or 5 days. So like Rudy Gobert, who feels so good that he's mockingly touching cameras and stuff, and then the next day gets sick. Well, he's probably had it 4 or 5 days before that. Yeah. And who knows how many people he infected. And that's how it grows. We just don't have any idea. So that's where my reasoning for maybe the tone of my voice comes from. At the same time, you can also take a step back and say, when it comes, you can try to make things work. You don't just have to throw up your hands and say that's a wrap. We're done. We got no chance. See you next February. And I'm talking about college baseball specifically. You can let it play out a little bit and try for the sake of the I sound like for the sake of the kids, Aslan.
The cheering.
It sounds like Sally Struthers. For the sake of the kids, try to figure out a way, if you can, if at all possible. Obviously, health concerns come first. They trump anything else. We got it. But at least hold out come up with a contingency plan if things do somehow get better by April 20th. If things are better 5 weeks from now, that you're not sitting there on April 24th going, golly, Omaha is still 2 months away, and yet we've just canceled it. It's like, canceling a football game on a Saturday football game on a Monday because you see well, that's not a great analogy because we're in the midst of something here. But see how it plays out first before you just go and run and cancel everything.
Right.
And I'm talking about things in the future. I'm not talking about the basketball tournament, man. That doesn't seem feasible to me, like right now, as it's scheduled now. That didn't seem feasible to me. Because like you said, a ref might have it. A media member might have it. Gene Deckerhoff might have it. Leonard might have it.
God, let's hope not.
And Leonard's old. I hate to say it. He's an old dude. He looks younger than I do, but he's an old man. He's 71. Sorry, I didn't mean that, Leonard. You're not an old man. Your only age is just a number. But he's in that window of people that would be highly susceptible to it. So you have to take care of those people, and you have to know what you're fighting. But don't you think, and I know this show isn't about
yeah, come on, man. Let's get some sports here.
This isn't an infectious disease show. But don't you think, Aslan, that by April 15th, tax day, won't we have a much better idea of what we're dealing with?
Yeah,
a much better idea, right?
That's the problem, though. And I don't want to get political, but that's the problem. I think by the time we do get a better idea of what's going on, we're going through containment right now, right? This is a plan of containment. But things are going to go crazy until it's contained. And then we'll get a hard number, and then things are going to extrapolate from there.
But say hopefully by April 15th we'll have a much better idea. And there's a very good chance, like I said, April 15th, April 20th, the numbers will be what they are, and you'll be like, no, we're not gathering people. We're not having everybody touch the same baseball, whatever the issue may be. We're not doing that. It's canceled. But you could wait till then. What's the rush? You can at least wait.
Last thing I will say, I mean, I know you threw a big number. Actually, no, I don't want to even go there because then we'll go into another 10-minute wormhole about this stuff. All right, we're 31 minutes into the show. We haven't really even talked about sports. Which, I mean, listen, there's a whole big thing going on out there in the world. I get it, but I figure maybe some people listen to this for a little bit of relief. Although the guy that told me to start a podcast tweeted at me and said, start the political podcast. I definitely think he's trying to set me up.
100%. He wants you to get fired.
Which is it's a good plan. It's a good plan. Like, I'm vulnerable, make me feel wanted, make me feel like my voice is important. Yeah, do that. And then, Gene, did you see what he said on this thing? Bam. Then I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm fired. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about football, and then we'll get to the questions, I guess. So we did watch Thursday, which is going to be the last practice. It was funny. We tweeted out the video of the practice footage, and it was like, hey, check it out. Footage from Florida State's first practice in full pads this spring. And the first reply was final asterisk. Like instead of first practice, final practice of the spring. That's obviously to be determined. Again, we're out there watching the entire thing. We had a little bit of a different point of view. For most of the practice, we were kind of relegated to the end zone, so it was kind of tough seeing some things. I have my notepad. I don't know what I do with my notepad. Is it here? I don't want to talk about quarterbacks, Corey. Man, I saw all the insight that Gene put, and I'm like, man, I have nothing really to add to this. I mean, should we talk about quarterbacks? I mean, in this day and age, you want to talk about being irresponsible about things. I feel maybe that's too strong of a word with what's going on out there in the world, but I just don't know, man. Like, what is there to talk? I know people want to know what's going on with the quarterback position. It's the most important position in all of team sports. But I don't know what to say. There's nothing I'm going to say is going to make you feel better, and it's going to be the truth. And I don't think anything I would say that's the truth should make you feel worse either. So I almost don't want to talk about it. But I have to because I just talked about it.
Yeah, hey, you had no problem talking about Willie Taggart for 2 years. That made everybody feel worse.
Oh, hey.
Now all of a sudden you don't want to make people feel worse about the quarterbacks? What, do you want to go back to the coronavirus? What's the matter with you?
80,000 in China. You think 400,000 we're going to get here in America? 40 million? No.
I don't know. Yeah.
Mickey was in attendance. That was cool. How about that? Want to pivot
What?
to that? Mickey was there. That was cool.
Mickey was there. Yeah, Mickey, old Mickey Andrews.
Xavier Lee was there too. Suited up. Yeah, it was in a full suit, looking sharp. Looking
oh, is
sharp.
that who that was that came and talked to Gene for half a second?
Yeah.
I didn't even look over my shoulder. I just saw somebody tap him because I was actually trying to chart what was going on.
Yeah.
So somebody tapped Gene and started talking to him in a suit, and I had no idea who it was. That was Xavier Lee. They're looking pretty good.
Yeah, man, looking sharp.
I didn't even look at his face. I just the slender build. I saw him from behind.
Yeah.
Not slender. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
He's put together, but he's not
good,
big. As far as the quarterbacks go, yeah, we don't have to talk about it much. I mean, I thought Blackman was Jordan Travis didn't throw. So who knows what that's about? Well, I guess we'll ask. I was going to say when they get back from spring break, but hey, who knows? But of the two that did, Rodemaker, Hot Rod, and Blackman, Blackman was much better on Thursday, in my opinion, my sort of educated opinion.
I thought so too, but I saw
1,000%. Yeah, he was. Well, Gene said what he said, but then he also said he wasn't paying attention much to the 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 that I was because he was watching the pass rush stuff.
Okay.
So then I added the stuff saying, look, I think James Blackman was much better. I think Rodemaker might have completed 2 passes to receivers. He did make a really good throw to Warren Thompson down the sideline, like a 30-yard kind of over-the-shoulder throw. But other than that, he really struggled. And I say that because, man, he's supposed to be in high school, and it's big boy practice now. It's his first day in pads. It would be unbelievably remarkable if he was just awesome the first day in pads.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just not that doesn't. Jameis wasn't. None of them are. It's just that's a huge jump. It's a huge jump just from high school to college in general. But to go from jersey and shorts to pads when they're coming at you and you're feeling the rush and it's live bullets. That's a whole different ball game. And I thought he struggled with that, which I think, again, it's nothing to even be worried about. Again, he should be in high school. It's his 3rd practice ever. Blackman was better. But what does that mean? We don't know. Don't know. Okay. Blackman was better. I thought Terry had some really nice plays against Asante.
Yeah.
I feel like the first 2 days, Asante kind of owned that rivalry. But I thought on Thursday and maybe the last day, who knows, Terry, I thought, had not a much better day, but I thought he beat Asante. But yeah, the quarterbacks, man, it is what it is. I think I said it on headlines, and I can't remember if I said it on this show or not. Aslan, I talk so much.
You do. I don't know how you do it, but we appreciate you making time
it's
for
hard
us.
to keep track. So you'll tell me if I said this or not. But the people wanting to know what James Blackman has looked like through the first 3 days of spring practice, just think back to the games you've watched James Blackman play. Right? Is that fair? That's fair, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Some really nice moments.
Yeah. And then
some good throws, some zip throws, big arm, hit some over the top, a few over the top, but then a few that you're like, well, no, that wasn't good. And no, he didn't read that real quick. And no, they can't hold the ball that long. And no, that's well over his head. And it's not catchable. Oh, great throw. That's a pretty good throw. Well, didn't do the check. That's just it. That's what we've seen through 3 days, which also is to be expected. Yeah. Literally the 4th offense in 4 years for that guy.
Otherwise, I mean, I don't want to say otherwise. That sounds like I'm winding things down. A lot of good observations, I think. Good news, field goals. They went 4 for 4 on Thursday after going 1 for 4 on Tuesday. Somebody was asking me, so after the Tuesday, they're like, what do you mean only 4 kicks? They were kicking in the IPF. I'm like, well, I didn't reply to them. Like, hey, this is what we can watch. We're not allowed to watch what's going on in the IPF. They might be kicking off to the side. I don't notice it, but in terms of
stadium, I legitimately don't notice them at all.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know that they're IPF.
They blow the arrow horn. They're like, field goal. So that's kind of an important period. And Grotehouse and Ryan Fitzgerald were both good from, it looked like the ball was snapped at the 10 and the 20, so 27 and 37 yards. So that's good. After going 1 for 4, they bounced back. They went 4 for 4. The return of, what do we think about the return of the Noll drill? The W drill, I think is
they call it the W drill now, right?
Yeah. don't want to look for an out here, but it was different. But it was the same, but it was different. Accurate?
Yeah. So one thing they did that I liked, which makes sense, that I think you've talked about before too, like the way they did it in the last staff was it was just cones that you would say were what, 3 feet apart, 4 feet apart, and all three levels were in that little tunnel,
right?
That little 4 foot wide, 5 foot wide runway. Well, the way Norvell and them they do it is it goes out like a funnel, like a pyramid. Yeah, it starts small where the running back gets the ball and the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman right there. And then it widens out at the linebackers, then widens out even more with the wide receiver and the DB. So the running back has more space to maneuver. The DB has more space to maneuver to get around the receiver that's trying to block them. So it's more like a real football play. And you don't have guys running outside the cones and being thrown into their teammates like happened all the time the last 2 years. So I like that. I like that version of it better, I thought. And I thought they did more of it.
Yes.
I feel like, I mean, I know it's something you harped on all the time, but I feel like they did it for just 5 minutes with in the last regime, 5 or 10 minutes at most, but they would probably get like not all the players would go.
Yeah.
Many players wouldn't go. But in this one, like Tamari and Terry went twice and was about to go a third time against Asante Samuel when they blew the whistle and said, no, we're going. Because they had two of them set up right next to each other, and they were always rotating. They were going really quick. As soon as this one was over, the next one started. Back and forth, back and forth. They probably did 30 of them.
Well, they went back and forth. They went back and forth with Willie. It was like,
Did they?
One, because they would have two going on. It was like, all right, this one goes and that one goes. What I did like about it was, I mean, they like slept. The knuck if you're buck Noll drill was just this, we're trying to make you feel better about yourselves, but it's not working, but we're going to keep doing it. That's what kind of bothered me the most about it was, I don't think they gained anything from it. It was, you just lost another game again. Let's come out here. I believe in you. Let's come out, work hard. It was like acting tough. We're going to act tough so we can maybe be tough. That was like the whole disconnect. The thing that I liked about it, and I think Gene was asking, like, what I thought about it, and he posted his observation on there. I do feel like with the previous staff, the distance between like level 1, level 2, and level 3. So the first level is offensive lineman on defensive lineman, as Corey said. Then the second level is usually a tight end on a linebacker, and then you have a defensive back taking on a wide receiver. I feel like it was almost like 6 or 7 yards between each of them. So by the time you blew the whistle and you handed the ball off, like by the time you got to the second level, there's no way anyone's going to keep a block 20 yards downfield for 6 seconds. It's just not going to happen. But with this one, I feel like it was much more compact, even though it was wider, spread out, like it was that funnel pyramid shape that Corey was talking about. Like the distance that you would have to, the distance from the offensive point of attack, the offensive lineman, defensive lineman point of attack, to the third one was like 10 yards tops. Like it was much more condensed in that aspect where it's like, yeah, in terms of like the timing of a football play, you're going to get the ball handed off to you, and within 1 second, you're going to be past the line of scrimmage, and then you're going to be on the second level within, less than 2 seconds, and so on and so forth. Whereas the way they would do in the previous regime was like, yeah, there's no way this is going to reenact itself or show itself in a football game on a Saturday. So I did like that kind of aspect from it.
Yeah, I thought it was. I just liked it more because I just thought it was more. Like I said, I thought it felt more like a real. You got to get off a block and go make a play.
Yeah,
and the running back can try to read a block and say, okay, he's got leverage on the outside, so I'm going to go inside, or vice versa. As opposed to when you're in this small little alley, we got nowhere to go, no matter where the block is. You're running into someone. But yeah, I wanted to say real quick. I thought Terry had look. Tamarian, he'll still do a couple occasional things in practice where Norvell even yelled at him on Thursday, like, come on, like literally very loud, like, let's go, Terry, let's go, Terry. He hadn't really run a route at full speed like he probably should have, and he was the number one option. And I say that, look, I know he said sometimes we won't mention names, and Tamarian Terry, he's fine. because he makes a lot of really good plays too. So I can mention when he doesn't, because I'm about to mention something he did really well, which was in that drill. The W drill is what they call it, which I assume stands for what do you think? Whataburger?
No, I think it stands for what's on the Zaxby's menu that starts with a W. Give me something.
Oh,
Corey.
there you go.
Give me something.
Good
here.
call. Yeah, no, definitely not Whataburger.
Yeah.
It's does Zaxby's have anything that starts with a W? Water? Like the Zaxby's water?
Moving along.
Anyway, it's called the W drill, I assume for win or white wine. There's
Well,
a
it's
lot of
shaped
things
like
it
a
could be.
W. It gets wide. Like, look at a W. It funnels out wide.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, the
I
shape of it.
Okay.
They put cones out like in the shape of a W.
Yeah, all right. That makes even more sense than water. So Terry in he had a block. He had a great block the first time he went through where he just dominated the kid, but he kept him upright. The second one, he pile drived him, like just straight up pancaked him. And then right at the end, and it wasn't Asante either time. Well, the third time it was going to be him and Asante. And what I thought was really cool, number one was, I don't know if you've ever seen that video of like when Dion lined up against Jerry Rice and tried to shake his hand, and Jerry Rice like wouldn't do it. Well, anyway, I guess that doesn't really make sense because they did shake hands. Like Terry and Asante shook hands and then lined up like they were getting ready to go. And then Norvell blew the whistle saying that's the end of the drill. And they were literally like waving at him like, no, let's do one more. Because they wanted to go at each other. Yeah. Man, I just think that stuff matters. Don't you? I know it's a little tiny thing. I don't know if it matters between a win and a loss, but I just think those guys are going to make each other so much better. Number one, they respect the
It's day
crap
3,
out of each
Corey.
other.
It's day 3, and they're that stoked. Like, that's a good sign.
Yeah,
it's absolutely
and they want to compete against each other. Yeah. They don't want to. Jaleel McRae was saying that after practice. He's like, sometimes in Noll drill or W drill, Oklahoma drill, whatever you want to call it, there'll be people that you can tell they're hiding. Yeah. They don't want to get in it. But the way Norvell does it, we all got to get in it. Yeah. And he goes, obviously McRae loves it. He actually tackled a guy in it, and then was mad that they got mad at him for it. But it wasn't a bad. You remember that tackle last year where somebody like dove at Cam's knees?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, and threw him into teammates. But Cam Akers. But so I thought that was funny that McRae's like, yeah, you can tell sometimes guys want to hide. But there wasn't a lot of that in this one. Everybody seemed to be I think Norvell makes them all go. And I just thought they got more out of it than they had the previous 2 years with what they were doing. I thought overall it was a pretty darn physical practice.
I agree.
For the most part. And I think Norvell still gets a little upset like all coaches would when they take him to the ground.
Yeah.
He yelled more and more. He yelled a lot off the ground. Because he said that afterwards, like we still got to learn how to make contact the right way. But I thought, there were some kids that were really thudding up. Steven Dix Jr., man. Yeah. That kid made some flash plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are some guys, to Willie Taggart and the previous staff's credit, some of these younger pups are looking pretty solid. Quayshawn Fuller's another guy that I thought looked pretty well on Thursday, and that was a kid that I didn't really the way he was built as a true freshman, I'm like, I just don't know if it's ever going to really develop for him. But he had a couple plays. There was a stunt he did during pass rush that was really super explosive, and he flashed out there. Robert Cooper was pretty unblockable. Marvin Wilson continues to be a bear. I mean, when they're doing drills and he's just, even when they're just kind of, I don't want to say they're going through the motions, but they'll do drills where the offensive or defensive linemen are going head to head with one another, just kind of doing individual work, and one guy's got to play the role of an offensive lineman. Like even when Marvin's doing that, he's just pushing the other guy around. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Derek McClendon had I saw he had a good rep when they did inside run drill. Like Papu just ran over to him and smacked his helmet quite enthusiastically. I think it was, who knocked down the receiver in 7-on-7? Was it Renardo Green?
Oh, it was Renardo Green. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
It was a one-on-one.
It was one-on-one. It wasn't 7-on-7. Yeah, they'll do quarterbacks. Yeah.
I've never seen that before. I didn't understand what I had seen. Renardo Green lines up on a wide receiver, Renardo Green cornerback / safety, one-on-one.
On a scholarship wide receiver.
Yeah, correct. Press coverage. And literally, as soon as Blackman or whoever takes the snap, he basically just pancakes the receiver.
Decleats him, yeah.
Yeah, one of the walk-ons next, I think it was a walk-on, or special teams guy, let's say. He wasn't participating in a drill. Maybe just an injured guy. Said, wow, did you see what Renardo just did?
Yeah, I heard that.
And the guy's like, what? And he's just like, did you see what he just, like, I'd never seen it either. You see press coverage, and you see where receivers have a hard time getting off the line of scrimmage occasionally. You don't ever see a receiver pancaked. Yeah. So that guy also, and I know he played a little bit last year. I don't remember, did he get hurt at the end of the year, or he just stopped playing? Because he played a good bit, actually, in that Virginia game until he got kicked out.
I think he got banged up.
Yeah, so either way, that guy has made some flash plays, man. He's again, we're 3 days in, 1 day in pads, and no real tackling. But so take it all with a big old pound mound of salt. But he's been impressive to me anyway in the first three practices as well.
As I'm going through my notes here, who else stood out to me? I thought Ja'Kai Douglas. I don't know if he was a guy that I mentioned with this whole influx of running backs coming in, if he was a guy that might get flexed out to wide receiver, or if I said Corey Wren might be the guy. Ja'Kai Douglas, 22, looks pretty solid as a running back. So I would think maybe his future is probably there. I think he came in as an athlete. Another guy that was recruited mainly by the previous staff and the current staff was able to hold on to. I thought he looked quite fluid out there. Saw a lot of hard coaching going on. Chris Thompson, was getting on some guys. It was good to see that. Otherwise,
what's cool too, Aslan, that I wanted to say real quick that
sure.
I didn't even mention in the observations. It's not like a player observation, so I think it belongs more on the show than necessarily in what we do for the site. Mm-hmm. But I heard multiple coaches, high school coaches, because these fields are lined with high school coaches as well, from all over the state. And I heard multiple high school coaches talking about the coaching going on. Yeah. And one of them in particular was like, wow, man, that linebacker coach knows what he's doing. He is awesome. Yeah. And there were other coaches talking about, wow, what is this drill? This is a great drill. Yeah. Things like that again, I don't know what it means. But if you're impressing these coaches, not just that you're a friendly guy and you're going to recruit their players, but you're impressing them with your acumen, and the way you coach, the things you say, the way you teach. If you're impressing other teachers and other coaches, to me, I know I don't dismiss high school coaches. There are some incredible high school coaches in this country, and for them, for these guys to be impressed by what they're seeing from the college coaches, that's to me another good sign. Absolutely. Multiple people around me were talking about how impressed, not to me, to each other. Like I was just eavesdropping. So it wasn't like they were doing it for my benefit. I didn't go up to them with a phone and like, hey, how isn't Norvell great? They were just talking. They didn't even know who I was. Coaches, unsolicited, about how impressive they were.
Oh, and to your point too, like when they broke to they did their first 11 on 11. They ended it by doing 11 on 11 goal line, which is the play that James kind of threw a slant that it was like the first interception against Arizona State all over again from the Sun Bowl, and
except it was dropped.
Yeah, we were all lined on the back line of the end zone, and they're getting ready to actually run that drill in there. And to Corey's point, there's all these high school coaches, and Mike Norvell's like, back up, everybody back. I mean, just yelling at everybody. I mean, and not him like, hey guys, he's not trying to suck up to these high school coaches because he needs to get their players.
Well, he's in mode, right? Yeah. He's in coach mode. Yeah, he's not. He's not. He wasn't mean to us.
No, but I mean.
He was in coach mode, like, hey, I want to run this play, move so you don't get run over.
I loved it. I liked it. I wasn't offended.
And it didn't matter because the throw was, should have been a pick six.
It's okay.
By the way, back to Corona real quick, and only because I just saw it on Twitter.
Platinum
folks,
or light?
by the way, I don't tweet while I do this show. I'm locked in. I just have it on in front of me. But this is in Denver. They just shut down public schools for 3 weeks in Denver. Which you'd say, okay, that's a smart move, right? I get it.
Practical, pragmatic.
Tonight, there's a Post Malone concert in the Pepsi Center, and it's completely full. I don't know how many seats the Pepsi Center has, 15,000?
At least.
And there's all the general admission on the floor where everybody just standing next to each other. And it's completely full. Unless this is a hoax and it's a video from a year ago or 6 months ago, which it certainly doesn't appear to be. What is that? So that's what I think, that when people are like, okay, well, so I still go to restaurants. Post Malone still has a concert in front of 19,000 people, but these baseball players can't play in front of it in an empty stadium. So I do get both sides. I just think that's an egregious lack of oversight or leadership. Like, how are you in what everything that's happened in the last 48 hours, 72 hours? This guy's got a concert in front of 18,000 people, all standing next to each other. Anyway,
that's all right. They're all marijuana will prevent the spread.
Is that what happens? It's an antidote,
it's probiotic or immune booster.
Point.
Immune booster is what it is. Yeah. Anywho, all right. Let's maybe see if we can shuttle through these questions. We're almost nearly at an hour. It's a Friday.
Right.
The Walking Noll 01, do we know, and by the way, shout out to Seminole Life, the name of a poster, Seminole Life. He's got Lance Harbor as his avatar on War Chant.
Okay.
Varsity Blues shout out. Because Walking Noll posted a thread. Renegade Express, I'm new to War Chant. Where do I post questions for Renegade Express? And he pointed him in the right direction. So thanks, Seminole Life. Appreciate you. The Walking Noll 01, do we know how Norvell is planning on using all the running backs he has? Will there be one, quote, featured back, or is he just planning on rotating all of them in there? If there is one he has in mind, who do you think it is? Corbin, Webb, Toafili? He did say running game's important to him, though, right, after practice?
He did. Well, we knew that, but yeah, he did. That's why the physicality and putting the pads on and everything else is important. No, I don't think there's going to be a feature back.
Well, also to the point I was trying to make with him is, I think when they did 11 on 11 on the second field where the defense usually hangs out, like the reps between Blackman and Rodemaker, I mean, they ran the ball a good bit in 11 on 11, and in the practice I've seen, like teams 11 on 11 usually, because everyone throws the ball these days, spends a lot of time throwing the ball in those drills, but when they went to team, they tried to run the ball quite a bit. I found that interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. That's their MO, right? It's a running offense. Everything's predicated on that. To the question, my hunch right now is I think he probably would like Corbin to be the guy. Corbin's an impressive looking dude, man, just physically.
Yeah.
And even with a bad hamstring, he shows a little wiggle and burst that's not all that normal. But we don't know if he's eligible.
Right.
We don't know if we'll get a waiver. Well, we don't know if there's going to be a football season, do we?
We forgot about Kalen Laburn, man. Laburn's kind of becoming an afterthought, oddly enough.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily fair.
Yeah.
But yes, it hasn't been. I don't know what his health status is.
Right.
I think we'll know obviously much more. Well, I keep thinking I don't know if there are going to be any more spring practices, so we might not know anything more about the running back situation until August. He is definitely going to want to play more than one or two.
Don't say that.
No, I'm just saying I don't know if we'll have it. But I can tell you he wants to play more than one or two. But he doesn't. He also doesn't want to play all of them because that implies they're all interchangeable and they're all even. We don't know that. There's no reason to think that. I think there'll be a hierarchy. And he'll want to play, I would think, at minimum 2, but then at maximum probably 3, right? I don't think you don't need a 4 or 5-headed running back monster.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. And they're gonna have a lot of options, man.
Yeah,
I do wonder how that's gonna flesh out.
And you're right. I like the new kid, Douglas.
Yeah.
That's the name, right?
Yeah,
I like him. Yeah, he's been pretty impressive so far.
Yeah. This question comes from Tenor Noll. Apparently, this guy has a castle. Him and his wife are out front of their house. It's a castle. Congrats.
Nice.
Good for him. Wake up! Love the show, fellas. With all the talk of the new staff, how are the holdovers from the old staff doing? Dugans and Odell. I've not heard you mention them.
I think part of that, right, is because they're taken for granted.
Absolutely.
And also Odell is in a cart. because of he had knee replacement surgery. We're allowed to report on his injuries, right? Coach's injuries.
Yeah.
So he had knee replacement surgery, so he can't stand up for right now. I think he's got a walker out there, but it's a pain. Yeah. So he's kind of off to the side a little bit during the defense. Now he's still coaching, but he's not nearly.
Get your butt down, Robert. Coop, get your butt down.
Yeah, he'll do that yelling from the cart, or he'll yell at an assistant like, "Hey, tell him to do this." Yeah. But he's not quite. He's not nearly as hands-on right now as he has been because of the knee replacement surgery. He has to be off his feet, so he's in that cart watching for a majority of the time. But he's still talking to him, and he'll still call him over to give him some instruction as well.
And Dugans has been spending a lot of time working with the running backs and the guys actually doing like kick and punt return, like catching. Like in the time that we can film, he's usually on that end zone working with the guys fielding kicks, in addition to obviously being the wide receivers coach. So, I mean, we talked to Warren Thompson. Warren Thompson mentioned, obviously his relationship with Ron Dugans being a strong, guiding force for him, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, Dugans still there doing good things, representing the brand well. To double back, Noll fan number 1, he's been around since September 2nd, 2008, only his 23rd ever post. Says, wake up Aslan and Sweet Pea. By the way, SPM Jab 1 said, here you go, Sweet Pea. Where does the name Sweet Pea mean, or what does it mean? It was derived from the Greek word latharos, which means pulse or pea. Odoratus, on the other hand, is Latin. That means fragrant. When it comes to floral language, the sweet pea flower is associated with a delicate pleasure, blissful pleasure, departure, or goodbye. Thank you for the lovely time, and adieu.
My nickname in high school was Delicate Pleasure.
Ooh.
So I guess it's come full circle.
Yeah. So who do you think will start running back? Corey already.
Now I feel much better about. I feel much better about the nickname now.
Yeah. Aunt Deb running Noll gave us a 5-star review. Says we've been knocking it out the park. She was so very happy and she posted this on Wednesday before everything went sideways. Was so stoked for Leonard and the team. The net cutting of the celebration was fantastic. She was in Hogtown for the huge baseball win. Will not lie. I was nervous, but Velez and Messick were awesome. Velez called Messick a bulldog in his postgame interview, and that was a perfect description. We saw him meet after the game. He was happy. I think he's going to do a great job. She liked the play-by-play I did in the thread, apparently. She's hoping they don't cancel the NCAA tournament in Tampa, but just heard the New York City canceled the St. Patrick's Day parade, and we all know how this ended. Anyhow, she agrees that Eastbound and Down is not the greatest song for the fourth quarter. She could get behind Mama Told Me Not to Come. Keep up the great work. Love you guys.
That's good. That would be, just switch it up, man. Every Burt Reynolds movie. I'm sure I think he was in like a movie called Rent-A-Cop or something, or Cop and a Half or something. Okay. It probably has a cool soundtrack. He could do that too. Yeah, and I don't think we even really talked about Leonard that much and how much of I was so focused on why they did it and maybe why they could have waited a little while to just completely cancel it and baseball and everything else. It really is a bummer for Leonard and Trent.
Absolutely.
Those two.
Leonard,
Trent,
man.
Leonard.
Actually, I don't know. That's a good question. Who was it a bigger bummer for? Because I don't know.
Leonard's been doing this for 30 years, and he's got a team next year. Trent doesn't. And also like, say Chase Haney for the baseball team. Does he get another senior year?
I did see, I think Kendall Rogers actually tweeted when the Ivy League announced that they were canceling all sports. I think he was talking about they were in conversation with the NCAA to try to give seniors an additional year, at least like the seniors.
So I hope that's something they do. I don't know that you could obviously do that for someone like Trent who played 31 games. But, they're going to have to make so many far-reaching adjustments and decisions because of this.
Yeah.
Like, and do right by the student athletes, the people that you always pretend to care the most about. I shouldn't even say that. The people that you probably do care. I don't know. I'm not going to say that, but the people you talk about all the time, and how every decision you make is for the betterment of the student athlete. Well, then do right by these people. It's not their fault this came across this country. It isn't. So, their seasons are just over. Like a golfer, like their eligibility's up. They don't get to come back. And what I mean by that is, so say next year, I don't know how many scholarships baseball normally gets. 11.8, I think.
Yeah,
somewhere along there. Next year, if they get a couple seniors to come back, and instead of a roster of 32, you give them a limit of 40 or 36. Whatever they have to do, if they have some seniors that really want to come back, to let them come back. Yeah. Because their senior years have been taken away from them, and they'll never get it back. And Trent Forrest, he might play basketball for the next 10 or 12 years of his life. He's never going to get another shot at an NCAA tournament. Yeah. That's it. He didn't get to play in one. Patrick Williams might not ever play in one. But Leonard gets one. Leonard will get one next year if everything goes according to plan. So that's why I feel as bad as I feel for Leonard, and I feel awful for him. Because this team had a shot. No, certainly not a guarantee, but they had a shot to do some real things, especially with first 2 games in Tampa in front of what you'd hope is a lot of Florida State fans. It was set up really nicely. They earned a 2 seed. They're the number 4 team in the country. Yeah. And they don't get to play in a postseason. It's just, you just feel awful for Leonard, but you really feel awful for Trent. To a lesser extent, Dom, because, Dom was only here a year. But and even Patrick Williams, if he goes, or if Devin, if he goes, like this is the last chance, and it was just taken away from them, and that through no fault of their own, or really I don't know anybody else's.
Last question, Noll Nation 386. I don't know how can I even read this. It's all caps. There's like 7 A's.
Are they mad? Are they
E's.
Yelling at us?
Well, no, they want like a really, and like, wake up is not spelled with 7 A's and 5 E's and 6 U's and 4 P's. It's just all caps. Wake up. Wake up. Do we know if the players are still using the GPS tracking system that Jimbo started? No. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. He's Corey. Have a great weekend. I'm just kidding. No, we don't know. I don't know. When last year with Willie, they still had the catapult or whatever, the man bra stuff, and Bob Lasivita, I can never say his name right properly. The guy that was the recruiting dude for so long, Lasivita.
Yeah, Bob Lasivita.
His son was like the guy he was like always off in this corner with a laptop, and I think he was either programming or he was keeping track of what was registering on those catapult GPS system things. I haven't seen any players with them on, but now that I think about it, oddly enough, like I've never seen a player walking up with their pads in their hands. Like every player I've seen is like walked into practice padded up. At least the first day, we got there super early. The following 2 days, I should say, rather, they were already practicing or already stretching by the time I arrived. So maybe some of them did walk up with their pads in their hands and it was exposed. But I have not seen them. They've brought back the cushions, though, as we mentioned on maybe the show yesterday. They brought back the cushion that goes over the helmet for the linemen, offensive and defensive, which I think is a good thing. I'm a fan of that. I love football.
Yeah, I agree with that too. There's a reason they've invented those things.
Yeah, I love football. The future of the sport. I do have a lot of anxiety about it just because of the health and the safety aspect of it. So if there's anything that they can do to limit and mitigate things, I'm all about it. So it's good to see those things back. So but yeah, we'll see if we can ask them about the GPS thing. Heck, that could be maybe a story idea, Corey. We're going to need all the creative story ideas under the sun to fuel us here for the foreseeable future. So I'll maybe look into doing something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be an adjustment for all of us. I guess we'll take feedback from you guys too, because we're all getting through it together. I was talking to Aslan before the show, saying I can't even fathom how we can do 5 shows a week. Or even 4 shows a week, 3, when there's literally no sports to talk about. Yeah. But we can talk about our lives if y'all want to tune in for that, and we can have some interviews occasionally, obviously. But I don't want to bore you guys by talking about the same 3 football practices that we watched or how bad we feel for Leonard over and over again. Now, obviously, we'd like to get Leonard on here. We'd like to get Trent on here. We'd like to get Meat on here.
Absolutely.
And Norvell.
I want
and
Mike
all
Martin
these
Jr.
things. CJ Van Eyck, like all these guys, Devin, there's so many people, Lonnie, Sue, all through Florida State. We can get these interviews, and we can do that. We want to do that. We want to provide that for you guys. But I don't know that we just don't want to. We want them to. We want our shows to be entertaining more than anything else and informative.
Yeah.
And it's like we don't even know what we could talk about.
I was going to do obituary after obituary. The obituary on Trent Forrest's career as a Florida State Seminole. Trent, thanks for joining us. How are you, man? Terrible guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing that. We could do that, but every interview will be like, man, how much does it suck that you didn't get to play? Yeah. Which is that's how it is. But man, it's just such a bummer. It's just such a bummer.
That's the name of this episode. It's just a bummer. What's not a bummer is the weekend is here. There's no sports, so what are we going to do? Who knows? We'll keep each other company. But what is it called? Public distancing? I don't even know. I'm tired. It's like 12:30.
Yeah, what is it called? Yeah, like safe distancing, something like that.
Something like that. Anywho, we'll come back next week. We'll most likely, like 98%, do a show on Monday. We'll have a show for you folks on Monday.
Social distancing.
Social distancing. There we go. We'll probably have a show for you folks on Monday because something's going to obviously happen, probably of importance to the sporting landscape in the next 48 hours, we would imagine. So, Corey, I'm not going to have you leave us with anything profound or prophetic. It's too much. It's been a mentally exhausting day. Follow him on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. And watch the One Shining Moment video I did. Maybe that'll bring some solace. I was about to say that,
man. I forgot. Yeah. Or I got caught up saying something else. But yeah, everybody, on just a little behind the curtains, on whatever it was, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I know I was on the road. I texted you and I jokingly, and was like, "Hey, man, you should make a One Shining Moment video, but with Florida State highlights." And I don't even think I said it should end. Maybe I tweeted it out that it should end, but not to you specifically, that it should end with Leonard cutting down the nets. But then my man Aslan did it. He made a One Shining Moment, replete with the song. Was it the Luther song or the original song?
Come on, Corey. Come on.
Sorry, I can't remember.
Luther.
Okay,
Luther.
But there's some Florida State highlights, a lot of images of Hamilton, a couple of dunks you might remember from the Louisville game. But it's really well done. It's humorous, lightens the mood a little bit, and I feel like when you watch it though, you'll appreciate what Aslan did. You'll be happy for him. It's cool that you got it, but also it'll make you. It's bittersweet that we didn't get a chance to watch the real One Shining Moment.
Maybe
they could have had Leonard cutting down a net.
Should that be the name of our podcast? Bittersweet Pea?
No, that just adds people to that makes people want to refer to me as Sweet Pea, and I told you we're not about that life.
He's Corey Clark. I'm Aslan Hajavani. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
Some call them lunchtime lifesavers. Others call them the most perfect sandwiches to ever exist. At Zaxby's, we just call them our signature fan favorites. The Southern TLC Filet Sandwich has hand-breaded chicken with fresh tomato and crisp lettuce. The famous Kickin' Chicken Sandwich features spicy tongue torch and Cool Ranch sauces. And for a limited time, fried pickles are back. 2 classic sandwiches and a legendary appetizer. 3 more reasons you're going to get a kick out of Zaxby's.